Hi, it's Ed Oakley, and in this video I would like to talk about a concept that we call personal DNA. DNA being significant, I think. Obviously DNA is a fundamental substance of life, and I would like to suggest that this personal DNA is basically how life works. Fundamentally how life works. Now, let's take a look at what these mean. D stands for decide. It simply represents the idea that we make decisions all the time. We make decisions about people, we make decisions about situations, we make decisions about things, we make the decisions about our jobs, we make the decisions about how happy we are, we make decisions about everything in our lives. And we're doing this all the time. Now, one of the interesting things about decisions is they literally trigger the reticular activating system of the brain to go to work. So once we make a decision, the next thing we start doing is we start looking for all indications that our decision is true. So that's the second one. That is where we notice the indications that it is true. Now notice the reticular activating system, you get more of what you focus on, right? It specifically is looking for what supports our decision, not all the things that do not support our decision being true. So once we're looking for things, we notice something, what do? We acknowledge it. That's the A. We acknowledge, see there, I thought that was the case. Now a simple example, one of the things we tend to do is we make decisions about other people. Let's say that someone was, the first time we met them, was acting like a jerk. All right? What's our tendency as human beings? The tendency is to make a decision that they are a jerk. Now I want you to notice something. The decision that they are a jerk is very different than the decision that they're acting like a jerk. Okay? Interesting. But let's say we do make the decision, boy, they're a jerk. So what do we start doing? Automatically we start looking for indications that it's true. And when we find that it's true, what do? We acknowledge it. We say, see there, I knew that person was a jerk. And what does it do? It reinforces our decision. Now, by the way, it may have been a week before they were acting like a jerk again, and therefore we saw that jerky behavior and we were able to notice. And in that week, there had been many other things that they did, many behaviors that suggested they're not a jerk. And yet, what do we home in on? We home in on what supports our decision. And notice, this decision is absolutely a choice that we have to make. So I invite us to look, for instance, the first piece is, what are the decisions? And let me define something. I'm going to say that decisions on this scale are supportive decisions. And I'm going to say decisions going in this way are limiting decisions. Okay, now let's take it one step at a time. Let's look at ourselves. What are the limiting decisions that we've made about ourselves? Where have we caught ourselves saying, I'm not good at something? I could never do that. Oh, that's not me. I couldn't do that. Those are limiting decisions. And notice that sure enough, once we make those decisions, we'll be able to point out all kinds of indications that it's true. And every time we see it in ourselves, I knew I couldn't do that. I knew I couldn't do that. I knew I wasn't good at that kind of thing. All right, so that's the first thing. And as I invite us to look at the limiting decisions we make about ourselves and shift those decisions. Now, am I suggesting that that you completely turn around and say, I'm extremely good at something that I don't feel like I'm very good at? No, I'm not. But I am suggesting getting up to 0. Let's make an example. Suppose I made a decision when I was a kid because I drew something in art school, and maybe the teacher said, "Man, you can't draw." All right, and that stuck with me. Oh, I can't draw. That's a decision. And maybe I took that decision in, and so ever since then I've been saying, well, I just can't draw. Well, can I draw? Yeah, I can draw to a certain extent. And you know what? The ability to draw even better, I would suggest, is at least somewhat dependent on making a new decision about my abilities. If I recognize, yeah, I can draw to a certain extent, all of a sudden I've got the ability to build on what is now a little strength. See, I can draw a little bit, puts me up on this scale above 0. I can't draw has got me down here. You can't get to the ability to draw from there. And you can take any capability. You know, if somebody says, oh, I hope nobody says this, but I hope nobody watching this would say, I'm not a leader. Oh my gosh, that sets up this DNA, and you see all these indications that you did a lousy job, and so you don't see yourself as a leader. You put yourself below 0 on the leadership scale. The truth is, you've provided leadership numerous times in your life. There have been times that people looked up to you and watched you, and you provided leadership. Sometimes it was good leadership, sometimes bad leadership, but it was leadership. And so I invite us to look at the truth. The truth being that you are a leader to some degree. Now, with that new decision, you've got the ability to build on your leadership capabilities, because you can start looking for every indication that is true, and every little indication you say, okay, there's another indication that I do have some leadership ability.